Good morning, Anchor. PL, how you doing? Hope you're all well. Couple of minutes. Hey, Ishmael. Good morning. Hey, Jordan. Doing? I'm borderline. I'm feeling a bit under. Hopefully, it gets better as we go. Oof. Hey, Vanessa. How you doing? While we wait, help me out. Click that like and subscribe button. Two minutes before we get started. Anyone traded the pound or the euro or the yen yesterday? Thank you, Jordan. Thank you. Desiree, how you doing? I haven't had any grand. So Serene just asked it. Haven't had. Well, in fact, this year. What do you guys have? A lot of people from all around the place. Have you guys tried durian? Do you like durian, or have you tried it and absolutely hate it? Got a bit of the pound dollar yesterday. Very good. Pound dollar went down, just touched our TP, bounced right back up beyond the entry price. So it was a perfect take profit level. I hope you caught that. We'll talk more about that shortly. Alrighty. Going. Took a small short on the yen. Was oversold. Shot back up. Took a 45. Closer to. Nice 45 pips. Alrighty, let's get started. So again, thank you all for jumping onto this session, the daily market analysis. We look at the fundamentals in terms of what the news was, what the news is coming up. We look at the technicals in terms of price is, where price could get towards. Then combine that together, we look for some possible trade setups. If we have a session like what we had yesterday where the market starts moving while we are talking, then I will switch into more detailed analysis in scalping in the smaller time frames. I don't think it's going to happen today, but that was a nice surprise we had yesterday. So if you want to find out more about scalping, more about super short-term trading and being a bit flexible, switching between currency pairs, looking at the correlation, do check out yesterday's live stream. Watch the whole thing. Really, I had so much fun during that session. Everyone else during the session was good and beneficial, so do make sure to check that out if you haven't already. All right. With that, If you're new to the session, again, drop a message, say hi, let me know where you're joining us from. And as you are going through this session, or as we go through this session, find it useful and beneficial, do help me out. Click that like and subscribe button, whether you're on YouTube, TradingView, or Trading.live, right? Just help me out with that so that we can get more people onto the session. And the link again is there for you guys to join the Discord channel. I think most of the regulars have already joined, so do make sure you join. Update you further during trading session or during the various trading sessions. Hi Simon, how are you doing? Hi AYJ. Watch the Singapore Reserve video about our insight of how much they. Yeah, MAS deals with the S controls, manages the SGD, a bit of a market, open market operations. So it's a bit different or very different from what we talk about here, where we look at monetary policy across the other central banks. Hey Christina, good morning. How are you doing? With that said, let's get a quick disclaimer. Any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as education only. The contents of this webinar is not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product, so please do your own due diligence, DYODD, and your objectives, financial situation not being considered, and you should consider its appropriateness or circumstances. With that, let's keep going. Hey Kelvin, how are you doing? Hi, Upera. Yes. Hope I didn't try that nick. Alrighty. So with that, what we had yesterday, okay? Looking at the news here on Forex Factory, as we were talking yesterday, 3 p.m., we had the whole series of PMI numbers being really big mover. The thing that caused the euro dollar to spike down was German flash services going from 52.3 to 47.3. So from that expansionary phase of over 50 into that contractionary phase of 47.3. And that also led to the Eurozone as a whole, with the flash going from 50.9 to a 40.3, right? So just these two alone, we saw on the euro dollar that happened, right? So this at 3 p.m. Then at 4, it continued down a little bit before pushing back up at 9 p.m. plus 8. I'll tell you more about that shortly. With that, we also had the UK, the British manufacturing PMI, 45.3 to 42.5, and flash services from 51.5 to 48.7. That brought as well some downside onto the pound dollar. Well, some but actually down quite a bit. That's at 4.30. You see that at 4 it went. This was dragged down by the euro, right? This was dragged down by the euro, that 3 o'clock candle, and then at 4 it continued lower all the way down, continued down to our take profit here at 1.2616 or 15. Okay, so this was a trade that we were talking about during the session. Could have got in and made a good 70 pips to the downside. I did not catch the full 70. I got in a little bit later because I wasn't watching it. I think I got about 70, not 70. I got about 70 pips to that take profit level. Okay, so if you did get into the pound dollar, as a couple of you did, do let me know. Find out. So everything, pretty much, the euro dollar dropped before a big spike up. The pound dollar dropped before a big spike up, and it happened at this 9 o'clock timing. It happened a little bit earlier, but it happened mostly at the 9 o'clock timing, because at 9:45 we had the US with their manufacturing and services PMI, and you see bad numbers right across. Was 49, went down to 47. So it's in the contractionary phase, and also a little bit faster, contracting a little bit faster than expected, because they were expecting it to go from 49 to 48 0.9. So I expected a small drop, but still quite a bit more than expected. Then services PMI from a 52.3, again expected only a small drop. It went down to 51. Although it was still in that expansionary phase, it's really on the borderline of heading into correction. And that's why at 9:45, saw the dollar, right, at that point, 9 o'clock, came straight back down, continued down towards this trend line that we saw, or testing this trend line early in the morning today. So that was the news from last night. And the main thing about this manufacturing and services PMI, that slowdown, is also triggering some thoughts in the US economy, where the headline here, go for it. Go. Private sector at near stagflation amid fall in demand, right? The slowdown, the PMI numbers showing that slowdown, that fall in demand, leading to increased fear of stagflation, and that's why we saw dollar index drop that significantly after climbing. Right? We were expecting it to get to that 104. Looking at it, get possibly coming towards 104.30. It did not. It actually broke above 103.80, went up to almost 104 for a big retrace down. So this was driven down by the PMI numbers. All right, so that was what happened yesterday. Then looking on to today, a bit of a breather for everyone, because not a lot of news with the BRICS summit still ongoing. There was a question about the pound CPI realized sale coming out at 6 p.m. GMT plus 8. CBI is the Confederation of British Industry, not a news item that I typically pay attention to. Okay, because so why I don't pay attention to some news items is just that sometimes it has a varying effect on price volatility. So this time expecting it to go from minus 25 to minus 40. I don't think it's going to have too much of an impact on the pound dollar, right? Pound dollar already trending to the downside. I don't think it's going to be too much. I think right now it's still likely to be driven across the board. Most currency pairs would still be driven by dollar index. Then at 8:30, we do have the US unemployment claims. That is again on Thursday, so it's a weekly number. 239K to 239, staying at that level. No big surprises there. I think that it would be interesting. More interesting is core durable goods orders and the durable goods orders month to month. Looking to go, core durable goods looking to go from 0.5, rise down from 0.6 to 0.2, and durable goods orders month to month was 4.7, revised down to 4.6, expected to go to a minus 4.1. All right, this possibly is going to show that slowdown. I think it's going to show that slowdown because we have seen the demand from the PMI numbers yesterday showing that slowdown. So would lead to durable goods and core durable goods indicating some slowdown as well. So we could anticipate another, if this comes out in that big negative numbers or big red numbers, then we could anticipate another drop dollar index, right? We could anticipate another drop in the dollar index here. So with that, looking at the charts, dollar index first off, as we know, at 3 p.m. yesterday, it shot up because of the euro, the weakness in the euro dollar, pushing the dollar index up, then continued going higher because of the weakness in pound dollar, pushing it up, came up, and hit 104 before turning down because of the weak PMI numbers. At this point, what's going to be interesting is that take this one away and this. What's interesting is that this trend line still holds, right? Just write out. This trend line is still holding strong to this upward trend line is still holding strong, and we've seen price just come down today over the last couple of hours, test this trend line and bounce back up again. What I would be interested to see here on dollar index would be where now we know it's climbing up, but anticipating possibly some weakness from the core durable goods and durable goods data to be released for the US. I'm tempted, or I'm keen to see whether the dollar index could crack up to this level and turn back down again, right? And possibly break this trend line. Why I'm looking for that, that would give us the pattern of that head and shoulder. And then if it does come down to break this trend line, then it would be breaking of the skewed, very skewed neckline of the head and shoulder pattern. Then we could see possibly quite significant drop on the dollar index, right? So I'm looking for it to push up a bit before turning back down. And if it breaks the trend line, it could come down to 103.15. And then leading on to tomorrow, consumer sentiment and Jackson Hole might push it down a little bit more. But we'll talk about that as that comes up. There was one more headline where I was looking for. I'm looking for is there we go. Powell is using Jackson Hole as final push inflation fight. That could mean that expected to map out final steps in campaign to tame inflation, reinforces commitment to finishing the job when he speaks on Friday at Jackson Hole. That could hint, or he might hint, that about further rate hikes or continual rate hikes to try and bring inflation down, right? The question has always, or recently, has been whether September is going to be another rate hike. We might get a hint of that there during the Friday or Saturday morning for Jackson Hole, during the Jackson Hole symposium. So I think that we could see this bounce down. The question will be what happens at that 103.50 level. Okay, any questions so far? Good morning, I'm blessed. Hi Diana, hi Buba, hey Karsten, hey Frederick, Anthem. Okay, so looking at this, I'm 24th of August. I'm looking for the dollar index to retrace higher briefly. For testing trend line again. Could drop to 103.50. What I'm looking for in terms of dollar index, obviously, if it breaks up and does not turn back down, then we could see it trade higher. Just checking this level here. I think we can update this level to the most recent one at point here at almost 104. Right? If that doesn't happen, for testing trend line could drop to 103.50, and if not, then could see it test alternative test 104. I think that more likely I'm expecting that to have that reversal or that retracement. Not retrace, bounce higher briefly before retracing to test trend line. Fixing some of the wordings. Alrighty, go. Okay, I'm happy with that. Then looking at the charts, so this was the Kiwi dollar. It came down briefly, but then that dollar weakness pushed it right back up. So take that away. Good thing to see is that although it spiked up, it got held back by that resistance level of 59, about 5990, that resistance area, before turning back down again. So what I'm looking for right now, that write down, is that dollar strength, that brief dollar strength is going to push this back down. Okay, I don't think it's going to go all the way, although it looks a little bit pushed back up. You could be looking to sell from here, but your stop loss would be a good 40 pips. Take profit would be a good 40, almost 50 pips. Not really worth that kind of entry. Entry's not really worth it. Also with that trend line that's providing possibly a little bit of a support as well. Okay, so what I would in fact think about is on, bless you, what I'm possibly thinking about is that whether the $3 could trade lower. This right back. Take this, check that. Right? So we have a bit of a 2 points there. If this comes down and breaks or bounces back up, okay, this is what I think is going to look at that, expecting that dollar index to strengthen a little bit before possibly turning back down. That could mean that we could see dollar bounce off this, turn back up. Just work if I did this, that trend line point, that would still work. Look at that, I'm thinking of this bouncing back up to retest that risk level. Okay, so what I would say now is that I wouldn't do anything for this point. I'll be looking for it to retest that resistance level. Then if we see a big or that continued drop in the dollar index, could see this push up, not a reversal from that resistance level could be in play as well, with a possible level about there from those previous swing levels. Okay, so what I'll be looking for is either break above this point. We have a good 40 pip upward move, stop loss no more than 20 pips. If it breaks above that resistance, we have a trade. Or if it comes back up and then reverses from that point, could also be looking at 5975. Stop loss in about 20 pips. Take profit could be quite big, 7. Right? Then just thinking of this, could even be at a halfway point at about 40 pips. So between these two, I would say that we have to see what's the reaction there at the 5990 resistance. See it pulling back a little bit now on the dollar index. I'd like to see this break. Okay, so for the Kiwi dollar, it would be looking for a reaction long 5990, right? In this two option, I'm actually more, despite expecting the dollar index to weaken, I'm actually possibly thinking that this might hold. We'll possibly have two scenarios, one on the Kiwi dollar, one on the Aussie dollar. So I'm looking for this. Look at Aussie dollar is in that same region as well. Looking for this too. We can look at this as one option. 5995, stop loss 40 profit. Stop loss 20, take profit 40. Then we're looking to buy 0.595, stop loss 20, profit to the upside. That. Okay, so I'll be looking for more of this upward push to break above that resistance and upside there on the dollar. So looking at this in the dollar weakness scenario, then looking at the Aussie dollar, if we see it's gone back up. Now, if we see that dollar strength, say for example, we don't see it reverse back down, sits here and it slowly climbs to the upside, then on the Aussie dollar side, I would be looking for it to sell down. So about 645.2, 450. Stop loss 25 pips. Take profit 55 to the downside. Question you might have is, could this go up? Yeah, it could. But I think that we're planning the scenarios. We have the Kiwi dollar to the upside. We have the Aussie dollar to the downside. In either scenario, you know which one you can get into. So I'll have that 6450, 25 to 55. So 0.64450, stop loss 50, stop loss 25, take profit like that. Comes back down and breaks support level for further downside. That's reasonable. I'm happy with that. Hey Angel Case, how you doing? Hey Nick. Hey OJ. Then on to the yen, right? So the yen yesterday we were saying needs to come down, look for reaction along 145. Came down to 145, looked like it was going to break further. This big move down was because of the dollar index. Once it came down, bounced back up, and it's now sitting along that 145 level. Slightly encouraged by how it's reacting along this 145 level. This trend line is now well and truly broken. Take this one. Look. Could take this trend line. I would like to see this, even without this trend line, I would like to see break below the 145 level, trade downside, checking these levels. Save that. Once done, way, right? If it, so that you can see that move, why price bounced off this trend line or this area, was also because of that 38.2 retracement level. So what I would be looking for here, if it breaks past this point, the new trend line we drew and that support level, and it could come down. I don't see why it will come down that much, but the momentum could push this down. Could be looking at about 144, below 144.55. Stop loss quite wide, so I don't want to put it at 70 because you would have to size down quite significantly. I would say that stop loss could be about 50. Take profit will be down to 100. 1:2 to the downside there for the US yen. What's the reason for the Aussie to short while the Kiwi is long? It's just in different scenario planning. So, as much as we anticipate for the dollar to weaken, on the flip side, what if it doesn't weaken and it pushes up? So we're not putting all our eggs in one basket, expecting dollar to push up, expecting the Aussie dollar to push up. In either scenario, we have either the Kiwi dollar to buy or the Aussie dollar to sell. In fact, we also have the Kiwi dollar could come up to this point and sell down. Why I'm not looking to enter a trade anywhere here is just because the risk to reward will be too not be the best. Okay, hope I answer your question there, Da Phantom. So on the US yen, if it breaks below 145, we have that. I don't see a big drop happening. And I like how it's reacting, how that 145 level is holding. So you could also be planning for push to the upside. 145.30. Take profit 110. Again, stop loss and that 40 pips. Makes sense. So you see now that everything has dropped so significantly overnight and sitting at some key levels, you end up having both the upside and downside potential. This case on the US yen breaks above 38.2 would trigger our trade to the upside. I would say that dollar index is going to push this up a bit or possibly back down. So what I would think about, if it does go up, fair enough, could look to sell it back down from 146.50 ideally. What we'll plan for is if it turns down from this support, break lower. Okay, so 145.55, 144.55. So 144.50, stop loss 40, 50. So is it more easier to look for both option to buy or sell on one pair? I wouldn't do both, right? Just because you might be over leveraging on on your account and also over leveraging on the analysis. So I would say that in this case, if it moves up, look to buy the Kiwi dollar down up. If it moves down, then you could be looking to sell the Aussie down, right? Why I wouldn't sell the Kiwi as well is just because in the middle, not a great risk reward. Hope I answered your question there, Booba. Hey, matey, how are you doing? Okay, so with that, dollar, yeah, come down, bounce back up, that's fine. Then on to the pound dollar, right? Super happy with that 70 pip move to the downside. That's done. Take that away. Now, again, it is back at that 1.27 level. Around this 1.27, support now turns slightly resistant level. It has been consolidating along this point, right? It's been right there, consolidating along this point. Again, expecting that dollar to bounce around. We're looking for that. Why I'm hesitating on giving one direct move is that it could very well just break up. But I'm looking for it to retrace to a point before turning back down. Come to that 51.8% level down. So we technically need to see what happens along this 103.7 before we have a good clear direction of setups. So we're already scenario planning right here. What I would be looking for on the pound dollar. So I like to correlate the Kiwi with the Aussie, and then I like to correlate the pound with the euro, right? I like to correlate between these two. So pound dollar, if we see the dollar index continue to weaken, right? We see this pattern come down and comes all the way down to 103.15, then you would see the pound dollar come back into the range, back towards that 1.279 level. What you could look for in this case would be 1.2730, stop loss 30 pips, take profit 60 pips to the upside, right? Breaking out of this consolidation area towards the next resistance level. That's on dollar weakness scenario. 1.2730, stop loss 30, take buy 1.0, stop loss 30, take profit. Bit for pound dollar. Just looking at the way it's been reacting over the last couple of weeks, I was been trading within that range. This big move was quickly reversed back up, so I'm looking for it to possibly trade back up if we see that dollar weakness play. But if we see that dollar strength, right, if we see this continue pushing to the upside, then I would say euro dollar would be a similar pattern that we saw yesterday. Look for it to break that support of 103, 108.37. So 108.30, 108.30, 50 pip to 20 pips. Okay, good. Can anyone tell me a pattern that might be developing, chart pattern that might be developing here on the euro dollar? Any suggestions of what is not there yet, but what could happen on the euro dollar? On anyone? Inverted head and shoulder. Good one there, Jordan. So yeah, if it does come down and it fails to break below this support, then we would have a inverted head and shoulder. So it could come down here and bounce back up, breaks above that point, then we have inverted head and shoulder. So what I'm looking at is, while that might develop, it's very similar to how that might develop. The case that it doesn't, to an inverted head and shoulder here, it pushes up, then I'm looking for that to drop back down. Okay, so possibility of that inverted head and shoulder is there, but I'm looking for continuation to the downside, and I'm looking to sell 108, 1.0830, stop loss 20, take profit. Good stuff, Carson. 1.0830, stop loss $20 profit. Profit. Very similar to yesterday's, just a little higher. Okay. If it doesn't, then wait for it to break above 108.70 before you could a retest of 108.9. Okay. That then US Swiss franc, look at all that tails and spikes. Don't like this. That away for now. Away for the big levels. Okay, so I want to clean out the charts. Charts are messy enough. This point now, pushing higher because we are seeing dollar push slightly higher. So I am looking again at that resistance level for it to possibly push up. For this to push up, then back down, we could be looking for a reversal, a false break, right? A break and reverse back down. So you could be looking for sell on dollar weakness. 8795, stop loss 20, take profit 30. I would say this would be a very modest one just because of how it reacted, so I don't think it go all the way. Might not even be worth much of it. Okay, so looking for it to do that. We break up a little bit, but yeah, look for it to basically that pattern. So that would be 18795, stop loss 20, take profit 35. I like that. Possibly I would say fluctuating along point, not worth. I think that anything could happen within this range. It's not worth trying to do that much as we expect that. Okay, so and even if it does break to the upside, looking to buy from here, 8813, stop loss again 20 pips, take profit 30 pips. It's the same thing. I don't like it. I'm going to say watch that fluctuation long. Okay, possible swing trade on higher time frame. Not developed yet. It's still in that consolidation, so I would say that would still take some time for it to develop. 233 profit on the Swiss franc. Very good, very good. Okay, but yeah, the way I'm looking at it, there are better setups, like easier setups with more space to run compared to the US Swiss franc for now. So I would say I would watching that, focusing on the others. And you all know I don't actually trade the Swiss franc too much. That's possibly why I always say just watch it fluctuate around. US CAD bounced off or came close before pushing up towards that resistance. In this case, I would say that given how it's pushing back up, expecting some dollar strength, could be looking for this to test that resistance again. 1.3545. Again, I don't like how it's very near that level. That trend line can hold that away. Well, I would in fact, right, expecting this to push up a little bit before turning back down. I would in fact be looking maybe for a sell. If it plays out 1.3565, stop loss could be 30 pips. Take profit could be down to that 40, 50. In not a big space. I'm not super. I think I was looking at all these. Look at the Kiwi dollar, the Aussie dollar moving, the yen bouncing back up. We might be looking for that to push up. Pound dollar, euro dollar trading a bit lower. I think that the volatility is going to come from the pound, the Aussie, the yen, the Aussie, and the Kiwi. Not so much on the US Swiss franc and US CAD. We might just be looking for reaction. Not focus on these two pairs, look at the other 4 pairs or 5 pairs. That's going to give better trading outcome for the effort that you. Okay, so for that reaction along this point. Okay, that. Then onto gold. Gold did very nice. Did almost exactly as what we expected. Once it broke above 1904, it went up to that 1914 level that we have been talking about, right? This point now, so that worked out like a bit of a charm. That trend line is over. We can take that away. Now although I'm expecting it to push up further, I do think that we might see a bit of a think that it could retrace back down for pushing back up again. Could retrace back down to 1950 for pushing back up. Already done that once. Down, pushed up again. Could come back down to about 19 for pushing back up towards 1930 is our resistance, but I would say 1920, 30. At gold could retrace to 19 if support holds, could bounce to 1930. Right, and just looking at the way we expect gold to possibly push higher, that's possibly that reversal or that retracement we could see on the dollar index. Back down, then we could see gold push back up, that inverse relationship. So that's now pushing back up, stands. Then checking. So yeah, as the dollar pushes up, gold trade down, maybe to 19 before bouncing back up. Inverted head and shoulder perform. That away. Right. Then dollar. If it continues trading lower, fair enough. Don't do anything. If it bounces back up, then we look for a reaction along that resistance. Selling opportunity is very valid there for the Aussie, looking for it to break close below this point to break down from 0.6450. Yen is pushing up. I think this would be a short term. You could do a short term trade, but I would say that just never know when it could reverse from. Right, it's breaking above 38.2. It could just come up to 145.70 before turning back down again. So the only thing I would think of is yen could be a bit earlier. You could get in a little bit earlier at 144.80 for a bit more downside potential. Okay, we just had somebody post something, but I will delete that later. Just okay, cool. Yeah, don't advertise on the street. That then okay, lost my train of thought, but that's look at this possibly pushing up or turning back down. 144.80. Could have a tighter stop at about 30. Take profit 134. Let's update that. 144.80. Stop loss 30. Take profit 130. 44.80. Stop loss 30. Okay, why I updated that is because as it pushes up, I'm looking for it to find some resistance along this between these two fib areas for push back down again. Pound dollar still sitting right there, could push lower, but if it does push lower, could look to sell it down, quite similar to what we saw yesterday. But I would possibly be of the euro dollar pushing down as well. Okay, so pound dollar could have a downward push 1.2690, very similar to yesterday. Again, about a 30 pip stop loss down to 50 pips. Well, euro dollar sitting right there. Two are just okay. So with that said, short and sharp session because not a lot of news. Not a lot of news, and you have some business climate. UOM and Hole speaking tomorrow at the Jackson Hole Symposium. Now that would. If you have any questions, do let me know. If you haven't already, then jump onto the Discord channel and help you further there. And for now, trade well, trade safe. I hope you had a good session. Yeah, Jordan, thanks for that. Not a lot to talk about. It's all sitting right at that point. I think the major updates will be later in the Discord channel where when price really develops a move, then we're going to see a better setups come in. Right now, it's just retracing levels. I'm not particularly keen on jumping or trying to recommend that you guys jump into it. The only thing I'll be most keen on will be the Aussie dollar for at this point in time. Alrighty. So trade well, trade safe. I'll see you all on Discord. Take care now.